Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Dorbin number 39BN. This is a door sweep, obviously. It is awfully nice when I get the chance to review such a very high quality piece of architectural material when it comes to weather stripping. Door sweeps, perimeter gasketing, certainly thresholds, are all available in what we would call architectural bronze. It's certainly permissible to call it solid brass as well, because that is, in effect, what it is. The industry term would be architectural bronze. It's an amalgamation of 4 different base materials. But this is a piece of, for just the sake of what the industry would call it, or the marketplace would call it, solid brass. This door sweep happens to be solid brass, highly polished, unlacquered. So there would be 3 steps in a normal solid brass sweep. Or there would be 3 steps in a polished solid brass sweep. Polishing it, it being made of solid brass or architectural bronze, polishing it, then putting a lacquer over it. Occasionally, the client doesn't want lacquer because they literally want this to patina or age with exposure to the environment as it naturally would. And that's why someone would want that. The lacquer is applied to give some protection, albeit temporary, in the sense that eventually the lacquer will fatigue. If you had a solid brass lacquered polished sweep on an exterior application, after a decade it's not going to look like day one. Well, when people want to facilitate that process of the patina, they're going to want it unlacquered. And you'll see door hardware made of that, kick plates made of that, other finished goods of solid brass ordered unlacquered. And it does give a different look to the material as well, and that is the other reason why you may order it unlacquered. So if you've ever seen solid brass hardware installed in something, maybe the front doors of the city hall, the front doors of a country club or a high-end hotel, that brass is routinely polished. So if the application, and this is going to someone's home, so do they want to constantly polish it? Possibly. And that would be the other reason in the heart of the matter. You either want it to patina and fatigue with time naturally, or you want to be able to get out there and polish it so that you want it always polished. The lacquer prohibits the process by which you would go through to polish it. And you're going to see that. Part of polishing the exterior hardware is standard. So that would be a reason. And I had said earlier, it looks different. It does, because the sheen is different when you're looking at nothing other than just the natural brass material itself. There is no substitute for the base material being directly finished. So there is no replacement when you have something made of solid brass and you're doing nothing other than polishing it. You might leave it mill as well, just what it looks like when it comes from the factory with no polish, when it's quite natural. Like solid stainless steel, when it's nothing other than brushed, that's the most durable of finishes. Now this would be very durable in the sense of its base material, but of course because it's polished, it's a more fragile finish that will require maintenance. Solid stainless steel with a brushed finish, as you use that hardware, let's just say that it is a push plate or a pull handle. As you use that hardware, you will, over time, because you're making contact with the oil in your hand, with the keys in your hands, the rings on your finger, work to indent, smooth over the brushing of that hardware. But as you wear away those microscopic exterior layers, you have the same base material. So you'll change the sheen, but you won't change the inherent nature of it, and that's what this is all about. You'll change the sheen, but you won't change the inherent nature of the solid brass material. Now this is a piece of neoprene. It literally smells like car tire, okay? About 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'm going to put my caliper on that right now, because I'd like to know exactly what it is. It's what we would call closed cell neoprene. It's not sponge-like. A sponge-like would be an open cell neoprene. This is closed cell, and the thickness of that is about 130 thousandths, so about, like I said, 1/8 of an inch. Because it's closed cell neoprene, its hallmark or its attribute is that it'll be very water resistant. Very water resistant. There's no holes in this. There's not sponge-like. It's car tire, basically. The downside of it is it's less flexible. So if you had an application where you needed this to bend or possibly contend with an irregular floor surface, it's not going to be good for that. So you're going to want to install this where you are not going to ask the material to flex very much or to bend over very much. Because the positioning of the sweep is crucial to the success of the installation, and because of the fairly non-flexible nature of this material, they'll give you slotted holes here, and there's no holes in the back, and the neoprene is only held on with adhesive. When you run the screws through that, which are here and included, okay, they're made of steel. It's not a bad thing. Oops. Oh, no. Oh, that just fell into my coffee. Okay, moving on now. Okay, crisis averted. T has been reestablished. So the reason that those screws are steel is because a brass screw would be awfully soft. You know, you've got to get through this neoprene. You've got to get into the door material. And while people who make a living as finished carpenters, dealing with brass screws is a common occurrence, the majority of the populace, will pre-drill that hole, if at all, and then just try to run that screw in. That's going to shear a brass screw. So it's policy from the factory that, 50 years ago they got sick and tired of people saying that their screws were no good, that they broke, they just sheared right off. Well, there's nothing wrong with the screw, but you have to treat a solid brass screw differently than you would a different screw. So that's why that's going to be brass. If it's ultra crucial that the screw be brass as well, reach out to us and we'll find out if the factory can indeed provide polished brass, solid brass screws. The other reason that they probably don't provide them is because how are they going to polish a screw? They're going to order these gold or brass plated steel screws because you can order those. Polishing a solid brass screw, I don't see how that would really be done. Okay, so this sweep, we've sung the hallmarks of the gorgeous architectural nature of it. Where you're going to use it, well, obviously a place where the look is going to be paramount. The country club, the 5-star hotel, the city hall, a residence. Why would you use a door sweep that is obscenely expensive? Well, you don't put a $12 door sweep on a $3 million house. And, in this part of southern Florida, there's lots of those. And while polished brass is not in vogue, as it was in the 80s, it is alive and well, there's no doubt. If it wasn't, manufacturers would not offer it. So just be mindful of where you're going to use it. It's not going to flex much. But when you have a door, let's say that swings out, like you would in those aforementioned places, except the residential application, unless you're in Florida, which doors do swing out, very effective. Because you're not going to have to put this on a door that swings in and then drag this over your threshold. Door swings out, so you just need to make contact with your sill, and it's going to work really, really, really well. This happens to be a 39 7/8 of an inch length. The client ordered the next longest piece and indicated in the comment field what length they wanted it cut back to, and Dorbin nailed it to the 1/16 of an inch. It is typical for the neoprene to run long. You're going to get your sharp little knife there, and you'll trim that according to your requirements. That's typical to have that run long on both sides. Okay, that's very, very common. Be sure to cut that back so that it's not overhanging. You don't want any undue stress on that material at all. We're going to switch to the screen view in a moment where we can take a look at some supporting documentation. Before we do that, this is listed in the site in lots of lengths from, 2 foot to 8 foot. You can have almost any length that you want. I don't know the maximum length of these extrusions from their metal supplier. Could be 12 foot. I don't know. You get longer than 7 foot, then it becomes costly to ship. Now, the reason that the client ordered this to custom size, my encouragement to the client was, do you really want to cut that after you get it? Nice factory clean edge that's there, okay? And while they didn't go and finish the edge, it's saving you the trouble of having to cut it because Dorbin's cutting this from full-size lengths anyway. This roll is who knows how many hundreds of feet this is. So order the next longest piece. indicate in the comment field the net length you'd like for us to have them manufacture it to, and that's what we'll ask them to do. That will give you that nice edge, and it will give you the proper distance on that slotted hole from the edge, and the proper center to center going down as well. Those slotted holes are nice because it will allow you to account for a sill that's not level or a door that's not plumb. You don't want to cut that off. You know, let's say this was 36 inch and you need to go to 34. You're going to lose that slotted hole. You're going to drill another one. It's kind of hard to drill a slotted hole. So be mindful of that, that option is available to you. Let's switch to the screen view and take a look at some supporting documentation. Now, the supporting documentation that I refer to is really the link to the manufacturer's page as seen here. But before we do that, 1 5/8" overall height is what Dorbin says. And when I put my tape measure on this, it's closer to 1 11/16. But that's just going to be, you know, really attributed to, you know, how they're slicing that neoprene at the factory, or wherever that material comes from. While it's not easy to see here, there is an arrowhead shape that's right here. And when you tighten that screw, that arrowhead shape or that pointed shape is going to bite into the face of this item slightly, allowing you to help keep it in place. Now, specifically regarding that, let's go to the manufacturer's page and then open up their product catalog, which is here. It'll say product catalog. We're going to do a Control F or find function for 39BN, and we're going to get to the page where we can see that. The reason that's important is because it allows you to see the other sizes of sweeps that are available from Dorbin. So what's the difference between the 39, the 239, the 83, and the 84BN? Only the length of the neoprene. That extrusion is all the same, but those options are available to you. Solid neoprene. Now, Dorbin does have... Okay, Dorbin does have their 139BN, and a lot of people will order that. That's solid brass, but that is a sponge-style neoprene. Now, be mindful. We have had people order this and then send us pictures a week or a month later saying that the insert literally just came off. But what's really happening here is the following. Dorbin will score the back side of this open cell neoprene. They literally score that. The purpose of scoring it is so that the lower half does break away and fall off. Why would you want that? Well, you wouldn't in lots of applications, but if you had an application that was an exterior door and you had the opportunity for that seal to get frozen down to the threshold or otherwise snagged on something, the fact that it's scored, allowing that to break away, is not going to rip and tear your solid piece of brass off the face of the door. If this were to get frozen or snagged, a lot of that brass is going to come with it as you open the door. So be mindful. If you don't want that scored breakaway version, do not order the 139. Come up over here to the 39. So that's an important thing of what I wanted to say. These are also, this is a roll formed, and this is an extruded piece of BE brass extruded. That's roll formed. Other versions of brass coverings over a seal material. Now these other options, mill finish and then dark bronze, that's really a powder coated dark brown when they say D. But a trip into this catalog is handy because it will show you all of the other door sweeps from Dorbin, along with all of the other gasketing concepts. Now, Dorbin's been in business a real long time, really, really long. Pre-World War II, that's for sure. And the proof of that is right here. There's a check from my great-grandfather to Dorbin in 1945, and I know that that is, you know, I know that that check series began in about 1937, I believe, or 36, and they had been working with Dorbin all that time. Stanley and Howard Sr., actually, Sr. So Dorbin's been around a long time. That catalog is there. It's awfully handy to review. Before we wrap this video up, there is a link to A117.1. That is the federal guidelines in terms of accessible and usable buildings. Why would I stick it on the Dorbin page? Well, because thresholds are very much governed by ADA compliance. in terms of the overall height and the slope at which you can approach that overall height. This document happens to govern all aspects of public buildings. When it comes to construction, clearly grab bars in bathrooms are a very common item that we deal with as well. So if you wanted to know the simple question, how far from the floor am I to install my grab bars, this document, and while you'll have to search it, is going to tell you exactly what that is, and the answer, of course, is right here. 33 to 36. Okay. Lots of neat stuff there. Let's wrap up this video on camera. It's always fun when you see a great piece of hardware like this made of solid architectural material. Like I said, this is going to a residence, and not uncommon to sell it to a residence, especially unlacquered. People do like that kind of look, and that's what we're dealing with here. So I would take a look at the Dorbin catalog. I can't think of anything in particular that they do that others don't. But there are, you know, Dorbin is a company that is in a in a western suburb of Chicago. They don't have a particular unique item that I can say that's what you want to use Dorbin for. Because other people will make solid brass door sweeps. Dorbin historically has offered zinc and bronze weather stripping for wood double hung windows. So technology that is well in the 19th century. They still offer some of that material. So if you're looking for zinc or bronze for wood double hung windows, they might be an option for you as well. There are other people who, there's currently one other company I'm aware of that does it. And I don't know how much longer Dorbin would be doing it, but possibly they've got some wind in their sail because they're the people that they compete against is ever decreasing, it seems. But you should be aware of their offering because they have material that will certainly solve the problem. Again, nothing unique that I can think to them of. I was told by the people at Dorbin that they claim to be the inventors of the automatic door bottom. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never researched a patent on that. I actually find it hard to believe that they would be, because I believe that that technology could be very easily 19th century as well. But anyway, they did say that to me. So if you have any questions on the 39BN and an unlacquered solid architectural bronze or solid brass polished finish or any other Dorbin product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.